What is everybody doing on Airbnb that's making so much money? We're going to talk about what Airbnb is, but more importantly, what is an Airbnb business? We're going to give you a few more terms and definitions because by the end of this video, you're going to understand that there's more than one business model in the Airbnb space. So you can choose how you want to get started if this is for you. So my name's Sean Rocky Geach. This is Airbnb Automated, and let's jump right in. All right, welcome back Airbnb family. So first off, what is Airbnb? A lot of people think that they know, but simply Airbnb is not what you think it is. It's not some hotel chain, it's not some big empire. Airbnb is a software. That is it. It is a peer-to-peer on-demand software, not much different than Uber or Wag or Soothe or all these other apps that Uber Eats, you order some food to your house. Basically, it's connecting service providers with people who want that service. And in this case, we're talking about travel accommodations. So what Airbnb's done though is they've created a movement where by lowering the barrier where a lot of people can put their home on Airbnb, and people can find it on Airbnb and then pay that person and then they can stay there. So that leads to the new economy, the Airbnb sharing economy. So what is an Airbnb business? Well, essentially an Airbnb business is more of a layman's term for something that's existed for a long time. It's a short-term rental business or vacation business or a furnished accommodations business, or you could even say a corporate housing company. All of these companies and titles are pretty much the same, which is that they will put furniture in a home or furniture in a space, and then somebody will live there any number of days. With Airbnb, it can be as short as 1 day, where with corporate housing companies, typically people would stay 3 months or longer. And so an Airbnb business is taking advantage of Airbnb specifically as a technology, as one of the many technologies that you can use to market a home by putting furniture in a space and then listing it for rent per se by any number of days. Now, there's a few things that you need to understand here because that's not enough, right? That wasn't enough to get started, was it? No, you put furniture in a home and put it up for sale or put it up for rent. Now, there's a few different types of business models that circulate or that evolve or orbit around short-term rentals. Well, what is specifically a short-term rental? See, a short-term rental varies state to state. In Philadelphia, a short-term renter is somebody who stays shorter than 90 days. In Texas, it's somebody who stays shorter than 30. In California, I think it's shorter than 28. So a short-term rental is a space. Could be a hotel, for example, is a short-term rental, or a home that's been furnished to supply what people need to stay, and you are allowing people to stay short-term. And that state to state, city to city will vary in length, where a long-term rental is typically an unfurnished home that you sign a typical lease in and you live there for 6 months, a year, 2 years. So that's the difference. Short-term rental is simply designed and allocated for daily or weekly use. Now, there's a very simple way to get started if you have a home that you own. Homeowners, this is really where Airbnb really started out, was renting out a spare room or renting out your living room. Now, the owners, Brian Chesky and his two buddies in San Francisco, when they first started this business, they were trying to rent out an air mattress on their living room floor. And that's what the name Airbnb is for, is air, bed, and breakfast. Air standing for air mattress. Isn't that interesting? So homeowners can list their entire space without much trouble at all because they own the home. So that's one way to run an Airbnb business. You could also rent out private rooms. So if you rent a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere, like in New York, you can Airbnb if you live in the space, right? So if you are a tenant of your home, you can rent out a spare room. So you can make money in an Airbnb business as a renter who is now, in a way, subletting one of the rooms out. That's one way. Now, my favorite business model for Airbnb is called rental arbitrage. Essentially what that is you don't own a home. You find somebody else who owns a home, or you find an apartment complex who has many, many rooms, and you convince that owner or the property management that represents ownership to allow you to lease those properties. You become the renter, but you then market that property after you furnish it and you find other people to stay short term. So you're signing a long-term lease for a lower rate than you're collecting by the night. Right? So a $1,500 a month lease, to break even, you'd need to collect $50 a day to break even on a $1,500 a month lease. But if you're charging $150 a day, that's a $100 margin per night, simply put. Now, rental arbitrage is my favorite because we've managed to scale it. We have almost 60 properties right now. Actually, we signed 3 more leases today, so we are over 60 properties now, and we're adding about 30 more. It's pretty scrappy. Now, there's new regulations. Now's the perfect time to talk about how LA, starting November 1st, is changing the regulations. Now, with cities that don't allow you to do something like rental arbitrage, but you want to create a scalable Airbnb business and you don't want to have to buy a lot of homes, you can do something called co-hosting. Well, what is co-hosting? Well, co-hosting is essentially where you find an owner of a property and you just facilitate their ability to put their own home and to manage their own home on Airbnb. So you have a landlord who has a property, and instead of them putting a regular tenant in there, you work with them side by side. You guide them on furnishing the home, making the space look good, and then you handle all the guest interactions, the check-ins, the check-outs, managing the cleaners who clean the home, and you're like the operating partner of the business model. And if a city says that every person can have one Airbnb that they have to own, and you're a co-host, you can partner with 20 different business or homeowners, and you can have 20 Airbnbs in your portfolio as a co-host, where there's 20 different owners, one for each home. And that's a way to bypass kind of the city regulations in a legit way if you want to build an Airbnb business in a city that won't let you. Now, there's only about 8% of cities that are kind of like anti-Airbnb fully. That still leaves over 90% of the market, which is kind of nice, isn't it? So with that said, that's Airbnb in a nutshell. That's an Airbnb business, short-term rentals, corporate housing, and of course my favorite, rental arbitrage. If you want to learn more about rental arbitrage, we've got 2 years worth of content on this channel, so I invite you to watch as much as you please. Again, my name's Sean. Thank you for watching Airbnb Automated, and I'll see you on the other side.